Hello and welcome to the Cipher Brief. I'm Meurmishvili. I'm the Chief International Correspondent here at the Cipher Brief. And our guest today is former Slovak Prime Minister Mikuláš Dzurinda. And we're going to talk to him about the EU elections, its impact on the European affairs, on Russia, China, Ukraine, enlargement, and many other topics. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for being invited. Thank you for the invitation.
Let's get right to it. Most of the international media is reporting about the far-right gains at the EU elections. And I would like to ask you to sort of open the interview with this question. How do you take the results of the elections, and do you agree with some of those assessments about the gains and losses?
Yeah, it is natural because also media in Europe, for instance, Politico, on many others, they are full of these proclamations. But I don't think that the situation is so dramatic. Look, that it is true that Madame Le Pen scored some gains, but we, the European People's Party, we won even more. So I am strongly convinced that nothing dramatic happens and will happen in Europe. I am rather optimistic than pessimistic. I am happy because my family, the European People's Party, won heavily, and there is huge, I would say, coalition potential on our side.
What do you think about the results in individual countries, if we can go into that? What do you think about Germany, for example, and Hungary? And we can talk about them separately, but very unexpected sort of results, maybe in both. And as well as in Slovakia, I should say.
You are right. But look, let's start with the worst. In my eyes, the worst is France. Because Marine Le Pen is not only very strong in these days, but she's also very dangerous in my mind. And France matters a lot. We both know that very well. A better situation is in Germany. On one side, the AfD is also dangerous, and he scored the second place, winning over the socialists. But there is also a huge good news. And this huge good news is the Christian Democratic Union. Friedrich Merz, the future German chancellor, will help Europe and transatlantic relations a lot. Even in Hungary, at the first sight, you can be pessimistic because Viktor Orban is still there. But there is also huge good news in Hungary. The new leader of the opposition, Péter Magyar, over the night, he scored over almost 30%. He's young, he's charismatic, he wants to join the European People's Party, our family. So I take Hungary rather positive than negative.
He created
Yeah, go ahead.
He created the party 3 months ago, and that's what was surprising to everybody in Hungary, that literally overnight, he gained this incredible amount of votes and the seat.
Exactly. And it demonstrates that people maybe are fed up with my friend Viktor Orban on one side, and on the other side, Hungarians realize very well that the EU is a great project, that it is extremely important also for them, for the Hungarians. The same situation is in Slovakia. I am very unhappy because we, the EPP family, suffered. We lost 3 of 4 MEPs. But again, a good news is that our liberal political party won elections over Mr. Fico. So there is also a good hope in Slovakia that sooner or later we will beat these anti-European forces.
And you mentioned France, and let's talk a bit more about France. President Macron called early elections in France based on the results of the European Parliament elections. What do you make of that? Is that a good decision, bad decision? How do you think it will impact France domestically?
I guess it is maybe a rather chaotic decision. I can imagine how depressed Monsieur Macron become after watching the final result. And on the other side, as a politician, I can understand that something had to be done by him. So to some extent, his decision to call for a snap election can be understood. Well, I expect new cohabitation in France when Mr. Macron will stay as the president of the country and the government will be dominated by Front National, Madame Le Pen, with maybe new star, new prime minister. There is a saying here that everything bad comes with something good. And maybe a good news is that the party of Madame Le Pen will prove incompetent after running the country for half a year, 1 year or 2 years. We will see. But anyway, it is a surprising development there.
So maybe that's what President Macron is counting on, to let them fail. You think?
Maybe yes, maybe it is to some extent emotional decision, a chaotic decision, but on the other side, there is also something rational beyond that.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Ursula von der Leyen. Do you think at this point, it seems like her positions are very strong, and it also is known she made it known that she wants to run for the second term, or she wants the second term as the president. How do you think her chances look? And do you think it's more of a balancing act that she's going through right now? Because she was not really clear about who she would cooperate with and who she would align with. There were some conversations about Italian Meloni as well. Do you think that's possible? And what does that mean for her second term?
Yeah, that question is not only interesting, but also crucial by my mind. Look, her position today is much stronger than before elections. Some people were tired or fed up with her because, don't forget, we went through major crises. The first, it was immigration. The second, it was pandemic. And last but not least, we faced the war of Russia against Ukraine. So one can imagine that some people, even in our domestic faction or family, were a bit tired with this commission. But after elections, it is clear that she has done a great job. She was very patient. She was able to reach compromises. And you know very well that Europe is based on compromise. So today I am pretty optimistic, and I believe that many people, many MEPs, prime ministers that maybe hesitated about her a bit, now they realize very well that there is only one option left: to re-elect Ursula von der Leyen. This is my expectation. When it comes to strategy, as you indicated, she's playing well in my eyes. She's telling, I am not keen to create something like a running or governmental coalition. Let's talk about 3 major issues. The first is the rule of law, democracy. The second is our devotion to our European house. And number 3 is Ukraine. And I am ready to talk to every political faction who is following and respecting these 3 basic principles. It means that she is opening the door not only for the Greens from the left, but also from the ECR from the right. Madame Meloni made us surprised in the past. The lady is not only very rational, but also dedicated to democracy, rule of law, and last but not least, to Ukraine as well. So I believe that the space for maneuver for Ursula von der Leyen has been increased.
What do you think the timeline would be for that?
Look, now the first step, it must be the decision of the Prime Minister, the Council. Our constitution is pretty clear. Ursula or new Commission President needs a qualified majority among the Prime Ministers. In my eyes, it is an easy process because now we are very strong, not only by the result of the elections, but we won a lot of countries and the Prime Ministers there. Poland, we have Donald Tusk. Croatia, now we have again our Prime Minister, and so on and so on. So I believe that this process will not be very difficult. We have 2 council meetings, if I'm not mistaken, in June. So I expect that the nomination will be done and the name will be Ursula von der Leyen. And then the ball is given to the European Parliament again. In the European Parliament, the Commission President needs to get only simple majority. It means 361 seats of 720. Maybe it will be a bit more difficult because the vote is secret. And Ursula pleased not everyone, I would say, in the past 5 years. But at the end, underlying my previous response, demonstrating that the space for her maneuvering has been enlarged, I expect that she will get majority even in the European Parliament.
How do you assess the president of the council? Would Charles Michel be replaced? Who do you think the replacement would be, and what are the chances for that person?
Look, I said a few minutes ago that on one side, we are not keen on creating any stable, fixed coalition. On the other side, it is obvious that this classical trio, it means Christian Democrats, EPP, Socialists, and Liberals, will continue. And by the logic and by the results, if we have 2 of the 4 highest positions, it means Commission President and President of the European Parliament, it is more or less obvious that the Council President should belong either to the Socialists or Liberals. Socialists are stronger.
Do you have any names you can share potentially?
It is very tricky. Usually it is very tricky issue, but you can read also in Politico, and 2 names circulate in media in these days. Antonio Costa, the former Portuguese president, and Kaja Kallas as High Representative for Foreign Policy and Defense. We will see, but it has a logic, I would say.
No. So do you think there will be a new High Commissioner for Defense?
I would vote for that.
Yeah.
Maybe you will be surprised, but the Martin Center, the think tank of the European People's Party, which I lead since 2013, we came up with the idea of European defense as an integral part of NATO already in 2016. At that time, I was confronted with many people in Europe, what do I want? Also in America, in DC, many friends of mine were asking, you are known as American #1 from Central Europe, what do you want? But we felt, especially after 2014, after annexation of Crimea, that the situation is serious. And I still believe that the situation is very serious. America is busy and will be very, very busy with China, with Indo-Pacific. And we have Ukraine. This is our neighbor, immediate neighborhood. Now we have a Middle East crisis and many other challenges. We need to be stronger, and we need to become a reliable, full-fledged partner of the United States in this transatlantic family.
We have snap elections in the UK and France coming up. We have elections in the United States. What are your sort of expectations of these elections, and what do you think their impact would be on transatlantic relations again? Because we're talking about France, UK, and the United States, which was at least in the previous cycle of the elections, NATO and European security was a major part of it.
Yes, this is a crucial issue because especially the axis between the United States and the UK had been so important and crucial in time of the Cold War. And I have ahead of my eyes Ronald Reagan and Madame Thatcher, golden times for security, for the future of transatlantic relations and the democratic countries. In these times, maybe there is not so much reason to be optimistic, but I want to be optimistic. Due to the tradition and also due to the understanding that we need each other, I strongly believe that even in case of the UK, when it seems that after some years there will be a big change, the Labour will prevail over the Conservatives. Or even in the United States, I mentioned a bit that I am not so tragically pessimistic when it comes to the potential victory of Donald Trump. I believe that this axis between UK and United States will continue. And the EU should help. The EU should contribute in this direction to boost this traditional axis. The biggest question mark in my eyes is France. On one side, the French president is very strong. You know very well that he has very strong competency not to nominate the prime minister, foreign minister, the government, to represent the country on international fora and so on and so on. On the other side, I am thinking more and more about the next presidential elections in France. If the tendency will prevail or will continue, it means that Madame Le Pen, at the end of the day, finally, by her thinking, will become the French president. In this case, I believe that she will modify a bit her approach. Everyone was surprised by the Madame Meloni's policy. I believe that also in the case of Marine Le Pen, we can maybe surprised after winning elections. Believe me, I have some experience, and the world looks differently if you look on the nature from the horse, or if you stay next to horse. The situation is completely different. Responsibility. People are not only watching, but also expecting. So, long story short, I am not so dramatically nervous.
We'll see. Maybe we should have another conversation after the French and the UK elections. Let's see. And the final question for you is, maybe we can combine a couple, because I'd love to talk to you about more topics, but we're running out of time. I'd like to discuss disinformation and its impact on the elections. Lately in the democracies, this has been a very large issue. In some cases, there are claims that disinformation actually played some role in the outcome of the elections. First of all, do you see it as an issue? And did you see it as an issue during this set of elections in the EU? Do you see it as a larger issue? And do you think any suggestions on how to counter it?
This is a very, very comprehensive question, which have been formulated by you now. Well, that's true. There is a huge challenge facing us, this disinformation and propaganda. And this is the issue which is related with social media, with internet and all these new technological advances. We are very happy that we are free people and you can write what you want, or you can publish on social media what you want. But what we miss is connection between freedom and responsibility. So now I believe there is a time, or time comes when we should think more seriously about this second dimension, responsibility. How to, I will tell something unpopular, how to control. How to control social media, how to make people responsible for everything which is publishing. It is not easy, because especially Russian propaganda is very, very influential. I mentioned a while ago that I lead the political think tank of the European People's Party, and we faced two lawsuits, two trials initiated by two French NGOs. Can you imagine? Because we discovered that these two French NGOs are paid or co-paid by Kremlin.
Wow.
We won these trials. And do you know why? Because we were right. It happens not only towards Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary, the countries of the former communist blocs, but it happens also in Germany. Look at AfD. It happens in France. It happens in Greece, in Italy. This is really a huge, huge challenge laying ahead of us.
Yeah, so it's not just social media or
yes, that's true. It is also
it's more
official media. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is also the question of many operations of diplomats, official diplomats in the embassies in our countries.
Yeah. And do you see that people are waking up to it, or people are objecting to it in any way? And in people, I mean societies, not politicians.
Not sufficiently. Looking at the issue by my optics, not sufficiently. Many people believe in it. It is very catchy. This, different scenarios, what happens, there is some global political force which is undermining democratic institutions. There is only a small group of rich people globally operating, and so on and so on. For many people, it is very catchy. It is very difficult sometimes to admit that I am not strong enough. I am not hardworking enough. I am not responsible as a person enough. It is easier to believe in such different catchy scenarios.
And most of the time, those scenarios are very emotional and tapping.
Exactly. Not only emotionals, but also connected or related to your difficulties. In free world, you know very well, maybe much better than me, that in free world, you have not only the winners, you have also people that are dissatisfied, or even people who lost a lot. And propaganda, disinformation, especially from the Kremlin, is very, very effective to address, to reach out to these people.
Well, Prime Minister, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time and your thoughts and insights, and let's stay in touch.
Many thanks. It was very nice talking to you. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.